Look, how do you talk about the threat to democracy, which is real, when a president says things like he says? Do you just not say anything because it may incite somebody? Look, I have not engaged in that rhetoric. Now, my opponent is engaged in that rhetoric. He talks about there'll be a bloodbath if he loses.
Well, so much for lowering the temperature on how we talk. Some headlines on that interview last night. Here's one. Biden turns focus on Trump's rhetoric, and Biden rejects accusations that his rhetoric fueled assassination attempt on Trump. Just one night earlier, Biden sat in the Oval Office calling for unity after the assassination attempt on the former president. Biden did offer one concession.
On a call a week ago, you said it's time to put Trump in the bullseye. There's some dispute about the context, but I think you appreciate that.
I didn't say crosshairs. I was talking about focus on. Look, the truth of the matter was, what I guess I was talking about at the time was there was very little focus on Trump's agenda.
Yeah, the term is bullseye.
It was a mistake to use the word. I didn't say crosshairs. I meant bullseye. I meant focus on him. Focus on what he's doing.
Power panel now. Kellyanne Conway, Fox News contributor and former senior counselor to President Trump. Kevin Walling, former Biden campaign surrogate. Kellyanne, what is he talking about?
No one really knows, except now the Oval Office address, where at the time it looked authentic and possibly genuine, looks a little phony because within hours they changed course. I'm sure they're raising money now. They don't have a campaign strategy outside of Trump. So it's almost impossible to turn down the rhetoric, Harris, if your entire message is Donald Trump. The president is struggling to convince people in his own party that he should remain at the top of the ticket, that he should be our commander-in-chief, given his obvious mental and physical declines. So he's playing to a couple different audiences here, isn't he? I think they're in dangerous territory now because Vice President Harris is challenging J.D. Vance to a debate, and that's fraught territory for her. She's known for her word salad. She's known for going viral for all the wrong reasons, as opposed to this Yale graduate who's very telegenic and very, very smooth and very versed in the America First agenda. So I think this has a lot to do with the collapse of the Democratic Party inward. On toning down the rhetoric, you've got Joy Reid on a different network today saying Donald Trump should stop playing the hero and the victim card. What does that even mean? The man is here last night with the bandage.
They're too busy on that network trying to figure out why they had to take their morning show off the air and fighting over the fact that maybe it was just too potentially toxic.
Look, I'm worried about something very simple.
I don't know what their conversation
I don't know if the left is capable right now, physiologically, emotionally capable of having a conversation where Donald Trump is the nominee of the Republican Party and not be heated and not be hateful.
Kevin, if there's any point of that you want to debate, we'll take out the popcorn.
I would love that. I would love that. Listen, as a representative of the left, mostly on Fox, we need to tone down that rhetoric. To Kellyanne's point, I want to focus on policy.
So why didn't the president do it in his opportunity last night with Lester Holt?
I think it was important for him to say it was a mistake to use that language in that donor conversation to talk about that bullseye.
So do you think most people, when they hear what he said, really are looking for the difference between the crosshairs and the bullseye? When they hear that, don't you think most people think violence when they hear bullseye?
Well, certainly, and we've had instances
him
of that
explaining
in
the semantics does what?
Well, I think it's a way of addressing the issue. Again, as you said, Harris, it was a mistake to use that kind of language. I don't think it's the smartest thing to split hairs over what, crosshairs versus a bullseye. But I think to Kellyanne's point, Democrats will win if it's a referendum on Donald Trump, and we need to focus on that. The president, in that address in that interview with Lester Holt, talked about the former president's own language, right? When he talked about a bloodbath for the economy, when he talked about pardoning January 6th. Violent mob members. So using the former president's own words, I don't think is a character attack, isn't a personal attack.
It's a slippery slope to go there, though, to go from there right into blaming the victim. And so it's the timing, it's the tone, it's the moment that the current president said that he wanted to create and then violates. Your last quick thought.
Well, and the word bloodbath has been totally misused. Donald Trump was talking about the auto industry. That was a very specific talk. So if you just take that word with no context and you say on national TV as a sitting president, my opponent said there'll be a bloodbath, you're picturing out in the streets violence. That's not what he said. He said the auto industry will suffer a bloodbath if he's not back there because of everything we see in this terrible economy. So we have to be very careful. Words matter, tone matters. And I think that President Biden he just has a chance that he's lost now because he's so worried about what his own party members think of him and about replacing him. He lost a moment to be a healer.
That's an interesting point. I mean, the one thing that we're not talking about are those 19 or 20 or so Democrats, Congress people and one senator who were just vehemently pushing
that we know about. What about all the ones in secret?
Right. To move on and let somebody else move into the top of the ticket for Democrats. Great to have you both in person.
Good to
I'm
see
so
you, Harris.
grateful.
Thanks for having us.
Harris.
And now this.